Charlene Harris and Sharon Regal, and we are here today to tell you a little bit about our Usborne journey, how we got started, and what we've done with it, and really where we are today and why we're there. 25 years ago, I was looking for a part-time job. I was a young mom with 3 children, and I just needed to bring in a little extra money. I didn't really want to change my life to do that. I didn't want to go back to work full time. I just wanted a little extra money to pay for things like music lessons and swing sets and things like that weren't really in the budget for us at the time. So I started looking for a part-time job. For 6 months I looked, and it was really hard. There wasn't anything out there that would pay enough to make it worth it for me to leave the house for 20 hours a week. So by the way, I was a homeschooling mom, and that was my priority, and I really didn't want to change that. So I was looking for something different, and I put the word out to all my friends. I need a part-time job. Let me know if you hear of anything. Okay, Sharon.
So about the same time, well, actually, before Charlene was looking for a job, I had been visiting my sister, who lived several hours away, and she had showed me Usborne Books, and she had actually given me the business opportunity information. And this was probably at least a year or two before Charlene was looking for a job. But I had remembered about that. And at the time, I thought it looked really interesting, but I just was really busy. I could not see anything like that going into my life. So when Charlene started looking for a job, or was looking for the idea of a job, I got the info from my sister, which I always say in the story. If you knew my sister, you would know how amazing it is that she could still put her hands on that information. But she did. And it was pretty pathetic. If you saw it today, you would think you couldn't believe that's what we did. It was just a little Xerox piece of folded paper. He brought that back to Charlene and showed it to her. And I thought about it a little myself too. I gave it to Charlene, and she really researched it further.
I actually called the home office, and they gave me the name of a lady who lived in Kansas City, which is about 4 hours away from me. But I called her up, and we talked. And I found out that the books were great, and that the opportunity was pretty simple. And the biggest thing for me when I first looked at it was that they told me that if I didn't like it, it didn't work out for me, I could walk away with no obligation whatsoever. And that was the comfort that I needed, to go ahead and try something that was kind of scary to me, because I'm an introvert. I don't enjoy talking to people. Not people, but crowds. And but I called up Sharon, and I said something like, listen, I'll do this if you do it with me.
And as it turned out, at the time, he had lost his job. He had graduated from graduate school. We had sold our house, moved into an apartment, and were planning on leaving St. Louis. We didn't know where we were going, but we felt led of the Lord that we were going to be leaving. So all my connections had been severed, all my responsibilities. And it was summertime, I think. Well, we started in August, and I was homeschooling at the time too. And I really didn't have anything else to do. So I said, okay, let's do this.
And we kind of jumped in with a bang, all feet first, not really knowing what we were doing, really seriously, totally not knowing what we were doing. Yeah. And we just started calling our friends, and Sharon especially started telling them that they had to have a party for her. So we started doing parties. The only information we had was a video that we had to buy from our team leader to watch how a party looked. That's all we had. So it was a 3-hour-long video of a party. And we used to sit and watch just sections of it, because who had 3 hours to sit and watch a party, right? So we learned as we went, and we just started doing parties. And we had good ones and we had bad ones, and we kept each other encouraged through the bad ones, and we rejoiced together through the good ones. And it told me how important it was to start this business with a friend, because it'll keep you going when you need to. And definitely you want to start with a friend.
Folks, to imagine that we started with no internet, no email. We had no training. There was no training from the home office. We barely knew what the home office was. However, this person that we signed up under was very good. And she was actually my sister's consultant, but she evidently didn't have her information on the information my sister had, because Charlene got to her another way. But she was one of the top people in the company at the time. And she held a regional training in Kansas City about a month after we started. And we went to that, and we were pretty wowed by all the people there and their success stories. And we did get a lot of information there, really helped us a lot. But again, when we went back to St. Louis, we were literally the only people in the whole metro area that knew even what Usborne books were, let alone selling them or anything else. So we had a wide open field, and we both promoted to what was then called supervisor. And our first 3 months went on to build our businesses that way.
I signed up in August, and my first goal was to pay for Christmas that year. Now, I didn't pay. I did pay for a huge chunk of it, around $1,000 of it, which totally wowed my husband. He was amazed that I was able to pay for that. And it gave me the freedom to buy more, because we had a little more money, and it was my money. So I could decide what I wanted to do with it. It was great. It gave me lots of freedom that I had not known for 10 years. I had been married for 10 years, and I had not worked that whole time. So I was very dependent. I have a great husband, so that's okay. That was really okay. But this extra money was very exciting. And it turned out that at the end of the year, I was not only able to pay for Christmas, but I earned a trip to Hawaii. A trip to Hawaii. Oh my goodness. And this really shocking thing was, since we didn't really have a back office, and the only way to keep track of your sales was by counting, just adding it up yourself, I had no idea I won the trip. I didn't even know there was a trip, because I was so new. I had paid for Christmas and earned a trip to Hawaii. So that's pretty exciting results in your first few months with the company.
And during that time, as I said before, I knew that we were going to move. And right after the first of the year, we did move to Pittsburgh. This is what I frequently tell people. Even if you're in a dead zone of your business, it really only takes one good show to get your business started again. Because when I moved to Pittsburgh, I didn't know anyone. And we lived in a temporary place for a while, an apartment. And I found a little school, some kind of event that I went to. And I'll never forget, because my husband and my kids dropped me off there, and they went somewhere, I think all of them. But as I sat there, I became convinced that people in Pittsburgh didn't like books. Because they would come and their kid would want a book, and they would be like, no, we can't buy that. And then they'd go over and buy one of those silly rubber band guns or something, And when my husband came, I didn't even sell enough to cover the $25 cost of the table. So I was very depressed. I thought we'd moved to the wrong place. But that was one of those bad events. It turned out okay after that. Moved, I think I said 5 times in the first 2 years of my business. And so in the first 2 years of my business, I had to restart my business every one of those times, because I never moved someplace where I knew people. I always had to start from scratch all over again. And as I said before, there was no internet. So it wasn't like I could just do an online party with people back home or back where I just lived. I had to be present in the moment where I was in order to do business. And so it can totally be done.
And that was another good part about starting with a friend, is we encouraged each other through all of this. And Sharon, by all those moves, really learned a great skill, how to totally start over and do well. And another part that she has always told me about the moves is it helped her keep her sanity.
That's true.
It gave her a reason to meet people, to ask them if they'd like to have a party, and to make friends right away. Because
it's depressing. I mean, it's exciting but depressing to move like that. So yeah, it did. It gave me a reason to you know, get off the couch and do something, which is really good. So it has been a blessing in so many ways. As Charlene said, her main goal when she started was to earn a little extra money. And I don't know what my main goal was when I started, just something to do. It looked fun. But having your own money is really fun. And I've enjoyed that all these years. And I think it's probably helped my marriage quite a bit by having my own money. It's just a no-brainer. There doesn't have to be a conflict because there is that money there to do things. And from the very beginning, like Charlene said, a swing set, I can remember buying a little Tikes toy for my kids, which I probably would have never done on a regular budget. On a vacation, we went on a sailing trip, on a small sailboat, which we would have never done,
Right.
except that there was extra money. So we did it. And it paid for wedding, college. My kids all went to college debt-free, as did Charlene's, because there was money to pay for it as they went. And there's just nothing that can be said about how great it is to be able to do those things, for your kids while it's, while they remember it. And even now, I frequently use my income. My kids are all out of the house, but I frequently use my income for family vacations, and pay for everyone to, go here or there or whatever. And it's a blessing for my kids that, they have that. And it's great for me too. And I love doing it. And so why not?
So through the years, as I said earlier, we've both been at this for 25 years. Through the years, our lives have changed, but my original goal was not to disrupt what I was doing, what was important to me, which is my family, homeschooling, my church, things like that. Those are important to me, and I didn't want those to have to change because of the job. So I worked diligently to keep Usborne in its place so it didn't take over everything else. And I was able to finish homeschooling through high school, 3 children, which was great and hard, but it was great.
Very good.
Yeah, and then as Sharon said, we were able to pay for their undergraduate degrees. So think about it, our children started their lives with no debt. So they were able to go on and get higher degrees and great jobs, and it really helped set them up for easier time in life. And it was because of our Usborne money, and I'll be forever grateful for that. My kids are all out of the house too. I have 1 grandchild. It's a different type of life now. My husband's thinking about retiring very soon, and I'm still working my business, and I see this career as a good way to retire too, to keep it in its place and to continue working and income to continue to come in. So
Yeah.
It'll go with you through your life. It'll go with you if you keep working at it. Now, of course, you got to keep working. It's the #1 thing you have to do. Nobody gives it to you. You work for it. But it's your option. It's your time. It's flexible, and you can fit it into whatever you're doing. Sharon and I have recently changed from doing big booths. We used to do a lot of big booths where we traveled and hauled lots of books and was away from home for weeks at a time. And we're now pulling back from that a little bit and doing parties again. And I love the online parties with Squee. I can't say enough about it. It's so much fun.
We came up with the Dream Builders name sometime. I believe it was on the Costa Rica trip, but people were starting to get group names, and we came up with Dream Builders with the people that were on that trip. Our team is a lot bigger than it sometimes seemed, because people who've become directors kind of branch off and they have their own thing going on. So when you see the people that are at our group event at the convention, really the original Dream Builder team is much, much bigger than that, because there's many, many directors in it who have branched off and gone their own way. For many years when we were still not so big and manageable, we had just outrageously fun events at convention where we had themes and we dressed up and we we acted like a bunch of children. It was so fun, but we've kind of passed that now because of the size. But we're hoping this convention will be really a great time for some people maybe to make a new Uzzy buddy and have somebody to help them along in their business.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to seeing you at this virtual convention. We're planning, as we speak, we're planning different events for the Dream Builders team so we can be together and we can try to bring that fellowship back into it a little bit, since we won't be sitting next to each other, but we'll be Zooming with each other. So it's going to be fun. Yeah, at convention.
See you later.